Hey, hey.
Let me change my background real quick. Okay. That was one of my things like from recording and stuff.
Hey, no worries. Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
And in honor of you, I don't know if Zoom is gonna blur it, but deep in the heart of Texas,
Oh, I love it.
mug, summer moon coffee.
That's great. Yeah, Summer Moon's great.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
awesome to meet you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love. Did you call yourself running up that hill before or after the Stranger Things episode?
I started the Instagram at like the beginning of 2023. So I don't know.
Gotcha. No, it's
Yeah.
fine.
I don't know. The song's been around since before I was born, but
Right,
yeah, I'm
right.
not really sure.
No, no worries. Well, it's awesome. Thanks for taking, the time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I came aware of you through Instagram, but then was like looking into your podcast you do, the running history. And I think it's so dope and so awesome and super needed. So thanks for doing it. That's so
Yeah.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Awesome. What uh made you want to start this podcast? Like what did that beginning of the journey look like?
So I've been a runner for a very long time. So I started running, first 5K was in second grade. And yeah, so my dad, like before I was even born, my dad was a runner. And so growing up, going to his marathons and everything. And at one point he asked if I wanted to sign up for a 5K. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't know exactly what that was at the time, but
Right.
I saw my dad at races, so I'm like, I want to do it too. And so, I started with that. And it just growing up, it was just such a huge part of my life. I did cross country and track and all of that. I had a poster of Steve Prefontaine on my wall growing up, like legit, like it's been a big part of my life for 26 years now and counting. And I ended up, so one of the biggest things with this, I ended up reading a this book, and I actually just had the author Amby Burfoot. I just had him on my podcast earlier this week, and I read this a couple years ago, and it's called The First Ladies of Running, and it's 22 female running pioneers and kind of their stories and all this, and there's some of them that it's stories that I knew, but I was so surprised at how much of it like I didn't know. And as somebody who had been around running and in this world for so long, it kind of blew my mind that if I didn't know about this, then definitely the average runner or newer runner probably doesn't either. And, I started my social media page about 2.5, 3 years ago. And after my first full marathon, and it began as this just, I thought I was posting too much about running on my personal page. And like, it's like, friends from college and like extended family members, they want to see my kids. They want to see my husband. They want to see daily things like that, maybe an occasional run, but like me posting daily about going running, like I was like, I'm probably annoying everybody. I should start this new page. And it was originally like the entire goal was just it was gonna be like a digital run log or whatever. And it kind of took off. And I ended up, I just posted about my background and what I was doing. And, in my mind, it was nothing too spectacular. But I had some people reach out about their podcasts, and I ended up going on some of those. And so, it got me thinking like about starting my own podcast eventually. And then when I was really getting into like, what do I want this podcast to look like? That's when I was like, you know what? Running history is something that isn't covered enough. And like, there are a lot of running podcasts, that'll talk about the races that are happening now and the people who are at the top of their game now. And there's so much more that led us here. And so that's where I got the idea. That is my long-winded answer to the very short question that
No,
you asked.
no, I love it. That's awesome. That's so so cool. When you started, because like you mentioned that you learned about the 22 women and you weren't
Mhm.
aware of all of their stories. Once you started your show and you started doing these deep dives and diving into the history, did you find things that you weren't aware of? Were there
Oh yeah.
misconceptions
Oh
about
yeah.
things? Like what was something that like stood out where you were like, holy crap, I had no idea, or I thought this was totally different?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things like that where uh not necessarily that like blow my mind, but things that I had never heard of. So one that I covered recently was about Sam Stoller and Marty Glickman at the 1936 Olympics. So there were these two runners, and they had qualified for the 4x100 meter relay. They were some of the best sprinters in all of America at the time. They went over to Nazi Germany for the Berlin Olympics,
Oh,
and the morning of their race, they were pulled from the relay pool because the coaches decided that they didn't want to embarrass Hitler by having him watch two Jewish American athletes win gold medals. And
oh,
so like it's a story that like I found out about them. So I work out at the JCC here in San Antonio, and um there's like a poster on the wall there that has like famous Jewish athletes, and there's a track and field one. And I took a picture of it whenever I started my research for this podcast. And I was like, oh, I'll go and look up, these people, see what's what. And because they didn't actually start the race, you're not going to see them in a lot of the history books. Like it's not like the team did win gold, they just worked on it. So when you see the stuff, you hear about Jesse Owens and people like that because they did compete and they were on the team and they did win the gold medals. And there's been things like that where it's like another one of those would be Tidy Pickett and Louise Stokes. So the first two Black American women to qualify for the Olympics in track. And I don't know about other sports. That's not something I I pay too much attention to. But one of them never got the chance to run, and then the other one broke her foot in it when she actually did run her race. Like, so she didn't make it to the finals because she broke her foot. She did the hurdles and she broke her foot during her race. But the fact that they were the first Black American women to qualify is a huge thing. But then you look at Olympic results, and obviously they didn't make it to the finals, and so they're not necessarily going to be the ones that you read about, and the records and the gold medals and all that stuff. And there's been a lot of things like that where it's not necessarily that it blows my mind, because it doesn't surprise me all that much that Black women or Jewish Americans were barred from competing. Like that
yeah.
does not surprise me. It was the 1930s, and like that's not all that surprising. But I didn't know the stories, so there's a lot of things like that where it's like I'm finding things that once I tell the story, people are like, yeah, that tracks, but they might not know the story, and I might not know the story, and things like that.
Yeah, I'm already you've said things where I'm like, I gotta find these full episodes to dive in and listen to. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Also, I feel like just because my background is like running and stand-up comedy mixed, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's probably bits in here to like turn into like a,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing.
Oh,
Here,
you'll like the episode I recorded yesterday about the 1904 Olympic marathon. It is just the most wild thing ever. One guy fueled with strychnine. One guy rode in a car for like half the race. Another guy ate some rotten fruit and took a nap, and then he got up and he still finished fourth. Like it's just it like there's some stuff like that where it's just it if you are a stand-up comedian, like there is so much stuff in there that is so incredibly ridiculous that you could just
he
go
that's
off
so
of.
he rode in a car. Imagine today like following like the live tracking of that. Like, holy
I
shit,
know.
he's dropping 2 minute miles.
Yeah, yeah. It was his victory lasted like all of 15 minutes, and he's like, "All right, guys, sorry, I rode in a car."
Wait, so he
Um,
came clean?
Oh yeah,
That's
he did. Yeah, I mean people saw him like he wasn't exactly subtle about it.
oh,
Like
gotcha.
so it was like it was I don't know what the thought process was exactly, but it
That
was
the also the dichotomy of somebody having the morality to cheat like that at the highest
yeah.
level, but then be like, yeah, eh, I I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
I am a massive cheater. Ask my
Yeah.
wife. And
Yeah.
oh wow. So one thing you touched upon that actually it it frames an interesting prospecting question. You mentioned the like the Jewish Americans, the Black
Mhm.
women Americans that necessarily don't get the credit because it's not like the most salacious story of like they
Yeah.
won gold or
Yeah.
silver. And some of that is a narrative that is formed because people like to consume they overcame this hurdle and won, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
In your research, in diving into these stories, have you found that, let's call it, the history of running has been shaped intentionally a certain way, whether it's by the race itself or a brand or anything like that, to fit like certain narratives? Or
Yeah, I think people definitely gravitate towards the wins and everything. So, like everybody knows who Jesse Owens is. And that's he was the first Black American to win 4 gold medals. Like, that's a huge thing. And people remember him because he was not only did he overcome things, but he also went on and was a champion in everything. Like he was like the greatest athlete of the 1930s. And so I think there's a lot of I think it's just very much shaped around the people who won and set records, no matter who that is. Like there's a like Wilma Rudolph is another example. Like in 1960, she was the first Black American woman, and she to win 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Like she was amazing and stuff. And she's not as much of an obscure figure. But 30 years before, uh, she ended up on that podium 30 years after fellow Black American women were barred from competing altogether and stuff like that. And so it's kind of the ones before the champions, because you hear about the champions, you hear about the people who came out on top. You read and they're always going to be listed as Olympic champions or world record holders and things like that. And I think that just running history gravitates towards records, and I mean for good reason. And a lot of the things that I do cover are world records and gold medals and things like that. But I think it's also important that there's so much more than that, and there's so many more, especially because probably all of my listeners are not world record holders. I mean, if they are, that's cool.
yeah,
Y'all go ahead and listen. But like I think there's just so many other milestones that aren't necessarily going to be a record or a win or a gold medal.
gotcha. I'm so fascinated. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so hyped.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're doing these research projects, when you're doing these deep dives, is it Google? Like, where are you pulling your information from?
I have about 9 million books. And a lot of things are, the starting point is one Google search. And then I'll learn about somebody else and I'll kind of put them and I'll work backwards. Like if I find somebody who I'm like, okay, I want to cover your story, like this is awesome. Then I'll be like, okay, when were you born? When was your race? Like finding a date to work them in, because it's a daily podcast. And so the way that I organize it is each day it's something in history that happened on that exact calendar date. And so it's like, if I find somebody who their main race was on what's today, August 21st, like I might do it then. Or if if they set a world record on a day that I already am covering somebody, then I'm like, okay, when can I tell this story but still tie into that? So I'm like, okay, you were born on this day, so let's do your birthday. Let's do so things like that. I kind of work backwards. It's a lot of Googling. It's a lot of like I'll have a starting point and then I just kind of like go through the labyrinth of just finding new stuff. Um, I have people will suggest things that might be less known. Um, right now, as far as my like planning, it's only through October with a few things for November and December on there, like some of the big ones. And then it's a lot of Googling like like I have the Berlin Marathon is in September. So I started with just a list of who has won the Berlin Marathon, and what are the dates of that I can actually that will fit in with my
Yeah.
calendar. And so I have two people coming on next week. We're recording next week. The episodes will be later in September, but one she won the marathon at some point when it fit into my calendar, and she wrote back to me on email, so I'll cover her. And then I also got a guy who he won the inline skating division of the Berlin Marathon, which is something that's unique about the Berlin Marathon. It's not necessarily running, but it's like, the running world is so aware of the Berlin Marathon. I'm like, what's something different that people might not know about it? It has an inline skating division. So I just went on and I found there was a guy, he lives in Texas, so he's like just 3 hours east of me in Houston. And I was like, I found his phone number online and I texted him. I'm like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? He's like, yeah.
I
So
love it.
so things like that, like it's a lot of that kind of thing. Like I spend a lot of time just searching for things, and if I'm researching something and something else is alluded to that I find interesting, then I'll kind of dive down that rabbit hole. I am not the most organized as far as anything at all, to be honest. Like I am not an organized person. So there's probably a more efficient way to do it, but that's that's not how it works.
What made you want to make it daily instead of weekly? Was it just because there was so much content to pull from, or
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
makes
And
sense.
and not every episode has an interview. So there's a lot of episodes where it's just 8 minutes of me telling a story.
Oh, okay.
It's yeah. And there is so much. Like my goal is to make it a year, with one bonus episode for Leap Day, because we're not gonna have a leap day
All
next
right.
year. So my goal is 366 episodes. But if I had the bandwidth, I could do this for literally years, the amount of running history that there is and events. And so limiting it to 52 episodes, I think it just wouldn't have. I'm already past 52 episodes, and I've been doing it for less than 2 months. Like it's
Gotcha.
there's just so much to cover, and it's time consuming on me, and my producer, and it's a lot. But there's just so much to cover, and I don't want to have to pick like and I also feel like if I did it weekly, I would gravitate towards the world's records and the gold medals and all that stuff. And I think that there would be fewer stories told that, are kind of the reason why I'm doing it in the first place.
Gotcha. The volume
Yeah.
requirement makes you kind of dive in and find these unique
Yeah.
stories because you have to pull from somewhere. I love it.
Yeah.
This is so exciting. Uh, I want to jump into your own running as well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you mentioned you've been running forever, like grew up doing it, run 5Ks. On your Instagram, it says 9-time marathon runner. I'd
Hmm.
love to hear what marathons, which ones were your favorite, which
Sure.
ones were maybe a struggle bus.
Yeah. All of them. Um,
Yeah, they're all.
but yeah. So I did not run my first full marathon until I was 30 with two kids. Like it was, yeah, I spent my entire 20s. I only ran half marathons, and at that point I was like, this is plenty. Like that was what I needed at the time. And my daughter was born when I was right before I turned 29, and she had a lot of health issues. We had our NICU stay. She had heart surgery. We were in and out of the hospital a ton for her first 15 months of life. And once we finally got her heart surgery and she was doing better and all this, It also happened to be the same month that one of my best friends from college ran her first half marathon. And it kind of just like lined up. I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, if I sign up for the Rock and Roll San Antonio full marathon, will you train with me? And so it was like, I had the bandwidth for this new challenge. And she happened to take up running, and it just kind of clicked into place. And so we joined the San Antonio Roadrunners. And it was like the one of the best things that I've done for my running is joining that group. And I still run with them every Saturday, and I've made some great friends from that group. And so I ran my first full marathon in December of 22. It was the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon. It was also my first half marathon 10 years earlier. And over the however many years it was in San Antonio, I ran that race 10 times, so twice in the full marathon and 8 times in the half marathon. So it was like
Right
my race. Like so it was the logical one for me to do for my first full marathon. Plus, my family's here and stuff, so it's like easy for them to come see me and all that stuff. That was the worst race experience of my life. I ended up testing positive for COVID about 6 hours after finishing the race. So I didn't run the race knowing I had COVID, but I did have COVID, and it was terrible. And like there's this footage of me like finishing, and like I swear I looked better in labor with my children. I looked better. I got a spinal tap at some point in college, and I probably looked better at that point than I did during this race. Like I have never looked closer to death than the final stretch of this race. Like it was so terribly bad. And at the time I'm like, oh my God, how is this something that people do? Like, why would people continue to do this? And then that night, like I got a fever, and I was like shivering, and I'm like, okay, this is not a running thing. Like this is like it got to a certain point, and so I ended up taking a COVID test, and it was positive. I'm like, okay, thank God. Like this is not just how I feel. Like I don't just suck. Because I had done my 20 miler a month earlier, and I felt good, and I wasn't expecting to go out and win the race, but I was like, I should be able to survive this. And like the way that I ended up feeling out there was just so bad. And so I was like, okay, that's good. So that was by far the worst race. And then 2.5 months later, I ran the Austin Marathon. And I did that one. I did the half, like 4 times, in my 20s, and then I've gone back and run the full another time. But I went back. So my second marathon was the Austin Marathon, and I took 24 minutes off my time. I felt like it's not like I felt great or that I'm like, wow, this is like, I could do another marathon right now. Like it was tough. It was tough, but it was the right kind of tough where I like at no point did I need medical intervention and everything.
right
So that was the first time that I did a marathon, and I realized what it was supposed to feel like. And so like night and day, like,
right
and none of them have I just felt amazing the whole time. Like you're gonna struggle. It's gonna hurt at some point. But there's a huge difference between like literally like I am going to die at this point, and like, okay, I want to get to this finish line because this hurts. Like
right yeah yeah
it's a spectrum. Favorite marathon? That's so hard. Probably Boston. I got to do Boston for charity, for a heart charity, actually in my daughter's honor.
Aw.
And this was less than a year after her heart surgery. And she's doing great now. She's 4 now. She's super healthy. She's the most feisty child in the world. But she was like I got to do Boston in April of 23, and she had had her surgery in June of 22. And so that was such an awesome thing. I mean, running the Boston Marathon at all, like it's a incredible experience. Um like the crowds, just the entire thing was it's an amazing experience no matter what, but also just being able to give back to the pediatric heart community like that was such a cool thing. And like I've done other charity races and stuff since then, and I like that a lot, but nothing has really matched that, with just with the tie to my daughter. Like it's just such a huge part of it. So that was probably the most special.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so beautiful. Honestly, what? So you said you ran San Antonio Marathon in 2022, right?
Yes, and 23.
And 23, and then you did Austin in 23.
In 23 and also this year,
Oh,
25.
okay.
Yep.
Right on. Right on. I lived in Texas, in Austin, and traveled around the state from 21 to
Oh, okay.
22. I got diarrhea on the Riverwalk in San Antonio.
Oh, good for
So,
you.
yeah.
Did you drink from the river? Because that's not advised.
Honestly, I might as well have, because it was a rough time. My wife was like, "What is you're falling apart? Like, what is happening to you?" And I'm like, "This has never happened." I ended up making it to a mall basement. It all worked out, but uh
River Center?
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was that.
Yeah.
Started in a Chipotle, and they were like, "We can't help you," and I'm like, "But you're Chipotle. Come on."
Yeah, you should be prepared for this.
I know this is like the thing you do is. Uh, are you familiar with the running event TRE?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's in San Antonio this year.
Yeah.
Are
Yep.
you going to be going? Do you know?
I am hoping to be there. I will be out and about in all the unofficial things with everybody being in town. There are so many people that are going to be visiting that I am so excited to show around the city and show where we run and all of that. So I will definitely be engrossed
And
in all of it. I don't know if I'll be at the actual, I'm hoping to be at the actual conference. Um, but I will definitely be around. And I'm also pretty much telling everybody. So the very first San Antonio Marathon, like official San Antonio Marathon. So we had for 16 years, we had San Antonio Rock and Roll. And
Mhm.
this year will be the very first San Antonio Marathon. And it's the same weekend right after TRE.
Oh,
And on that Friday is the 5K. And so I'm trying to tell a lot of people, I'm like, if you can stay in town for the marathon, do that. If you can't, at least stay through Friday so you can do the 5K, actually run a race in our city and all this. And so but yeah, I'm
that's
I'm hoping to be there.
yeah, it's awesome. That's super good to know too about the marathon. And so Rock and Roll doesn't sponsor it anymore, or is this its own separate
No,
thing?
so it's its own, it's its own, like the city took over and it's like the actual San Antonio Marathon now. So it's not part of a series that includes other cities. It's like our own hometown marathon. So I'm
That's all.
excited for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm also hoping I'll be in town for TRE
Yeah, let me
that
know.
week. So yeah, I'd love to join for a run or whatever you got
Yeah, for
going on.
sure.
Um, this is a little bit of more like the uh the content creation esque side of things, but I would love to
Hmm.
hear if you're willing to share, and if not,
Yeah.
I'll cut it out. Like, if you're following, like you have a good following on Instagram, you have a good following for your show. How did that growth happen organically? Did
Yeah.
it happen because you're posting a new episode every day? Like how did that kind of happen for you, and what do you think caused it?
So it started actually, I told you about that marathon that I had COVID and I looked terrible. So it actually the very first thing that I posted that was I guess could count as content creation was Fleet Feet had this contest for worst race photo. And so I posted a picture from that race to enter the Fleet Feet contest. I ended up winning, but that was the first time like random people were following me, and so I ended up making a reel about that, and that was the first time I ever went viral. And so I was like, huh, like this I guess I'm onto something. So I started posting more stuff like that, like me looking terrible in race photos and things like that, and it just kind of evolved. Like so it wasn't just my own training log. It started to be like making fun of stuff and just things that pop into my head that I find funny and things like that. And so it definitely organic, but a lot of it has been, if I on the occasions that I actually hit the mark, like a lot of followers will come from those reels. Like,
Gotcha.
I post a lot, but you see on Instagram where it's like this person followed you from your reel and all that, and it's typically the reels that get the hundreds of thousands of views or whatever. I'll get followers from that, and then they'll stick around for the stuff where where it's me on a treadmill and I'll get maybe 100 likes. Like, like they'll
Right.
stick around for that. Like,
That's awesome. Right
yeah.
on. Right on. So, what race do you have coming up for yourself or running event even aside from this TRE stuff we talked about that you're
Yeah.
stoked on? Like what's keep getting you out of bed, keeping you motivated, keeping you pumped?
So my big one's this fall. So I have the Chicago Marathon. That's my big goal race. That'll
Let's
be
go.
star number 4.
Hey.
Also doing that one for charity. And I'm hoping to PR at that one. And then I'm running the Indy Monumental Half Marathon in Indianapolis in November, along with some of my teammates from a group that I'm in. And then I have the Every Woman's Marathon a week later in Scottsdale. And I grew up in Arizona, so I'm excited. Like like my grandma's gonna come watch me run, like stuff like that. So
Oh,
yeah, so those are the big ones as far as like goal race at Chicago, but I'm really excited for all three of them.
that's awesome. So stoked to
Yeah.
hear that. I love it. All right. So you might have seen the notification. We're kind of getting to the end because I
Yeah.
don't pay for Zoom. Hopefully that's
I'm
going to
the same
change soon.
way. I'm the
Okay.
same way. So you're good. I do the same thing. Like so. We're good.
Well, I super appreciate it. Sometimes people look at me like, you don't pay for Zoom. I'm like, look, I'm on a budget. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. So these are just fun, silly questions. We can get
Yeah.
into as much depth or keep it as chill as you want. So,
Okay.
first question: do you believe in aliens?
Oh, probably.
Okay.
I like a lot of that unknown stuff. Like I don't have strong opinions that I'm correct about anything. Like and that's my approach for religion too. I'm not religious, but I don't like, I'm not going to rule anything out. I don't know everything. That's how I feel about aliens. Like
All
like,
right.
there's so much out there. I can't know everything. Like there's probably stuff out there, yeah.
Totally. All right. I love it. And you actually sort of segued into the next question, which is, do you believe in ghosts?
Honestly, same thing.
Same thing.
Like
Gotcha.
literally the exact same thing. Like I don't know. I'm not I am not strong in my belief that they do not exist, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
All right. I love it. And I have a feeling this last one is going to be the same answer, but I'm going to
Yeah.
ask it anyways. What do you think happens when we die?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no
Same
idea.
thing.
Like to us, I have no idea. Um, I mean that's part of what I think learning about history is so important because we have no idea what's going to be going on with us, but people who are remembered and their stories are told, I don't think, truly die. Like there's if you've seen that movie Coco, it's like there's your death and then there's like the like final death when nobody remembers and all that stuff. And I think that's what's most important. Like,
Totally.
I don't know what I'm going to be doing after I'm dead, but it would be nice if I left some sort of contribution to the world that people do remember.
For sure. That's so sweet. Honest, I wanted to ask you if you're a Disney fan, but I feel like that's so beautiful. We should leave it on
And
that.
I do. I mean I am. I like Disney. I'm a big fan of the Aristocats. Like that is a like one of the best movies, like solid. Um so I
right,
I've definitely, yeah. I put
right
that
on.
on all the time whenever it's my turn to pick for my kids. They're like, "Oh, are we watching Aristocats?" Yeah,
Uh,
let's do it.
I love it. Do you think you'll ever run the Disney races?
I would like to. So I was supposed to one year, and then I was like, I'm not going to go to Disney without my kids.
Right.
Like, and so bringing my husband and kid and both kids and all that stuff, and just all the expense that goes into it, it was just too much to do at that point. So it's definitely on the list. I would like to do it. But there's other races that I would like to do sooner.
I understand. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, thank you. So I truly, this has been one of my favorite episodes I've ever
Yay!
done. And yeah, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I will have to have you on my podcast. So I do a thing. It's called Podception.
Oh,
So it's where I'll have somebody from a different running podcast come on and we will tell a running history story together.
I
So
would love to anytime.
yeah,
Seriously. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
awesome. Let's do
I
it.